At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm doing everything I can. Now stop calling me Shirley.
The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
Michael Cera stands on your feet. Toronto on your feet. It's Sincerely Unqualified, and today we are doing Scott Pilgrim versus the World, a cult classic. Not quite like The Room, Disaster Artist, whatever you want to say that we did that week, but we are doing the, can we just say like nerdy in a non-judgmental way? Can we say that?
Yeah, I think we can. I think it's geeky,
like
nerdy,
it's
but it's
celebratory nerd.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's an awesome movie.
Watch it and tell us. Like you can't watch that movie, come out of it, and be like, "That shit sucked." Like that was too nerdy for me. You're only gonna
say it's awesome, even if you're like not too big into that stuff. You're going to love it. When he got back from a relaxing vacation or like a weekend, I don't know. Do we consider weekends vacations, or do you call them weekends?
No. It was more of just a long weekend, I'd say.
Yeah. Oh, those are always nice though.
Yeah, exactly. It's a nice little getaway. You know, you take a few days, you come back refreshed or, you know, less refreshed than usual. It's all good. I feel like you always come. Yeah, bro.
Hell yeah.
What?
Sick. Dude, I drank so many tropical drinks, dude. It was
somebody
awesome.
say new Amy on the beach, bro?
Dude, I was within like a 40-mile radius of Pitbull. That's actually how I rank my my vacations, is what mile radius I am away from Pitbull at all times.
And that was honestly, he's Mr. 305, so I was a 0-mile radius from him. And that's a life goal. You can't be Mr. 305 and not live there.
Does he have to live in the area code though, or does he live in a crazy mansion like just outside?
There's no just outside. He's Mr. He's living in central.
Right.
As he's got the key to the city. I'm making that up, but I'm sure he does.
I'm sure there has been a key to the city given to Pitbull. Yeah. All right. There's your Pitbull talk. We're gonna get into this episode.
Mr. 917.
No. We actually have a public service announcement and the news you've all been waiting for. The Manscaped engineering team has confirmed that they have successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. We had the 3.0. Now we got the 4.0. It's now available for purchase in the USA and Canada. So Scott Pilgrim, if he lived nowadays, could have bought this in Toronto.
Yeah.
So the news that this trimmer was just released, it was released on last Wednesday. We weren't able to get that readout, but we knew about it. We got our hands on it, and it is a fantastic, fantastic product. And you are going to join over 2 million men worldwide who trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. It's 20% off and free shipping with the code UNQUALIFIED at manscaped.com. You're going to one-up those 2 million people. Why wouldn't you? And do it for cheap. Do it with that promo code.
Do it for yourself.
20% off free shipping.
You know you need it. It's got ceramic blades, skin-safe technology. Literally, you don't know what you're missing by not getting in on the Lawnmower 4.0 wave. It's insane. I didn't know like you could get much better, because going from the 3.0, you're like, oh my God, this is the best experience I've had yet. And then you get the 4.0. And I mean, we got it in the mail. Shout out Manscaped, because that was awesome. Like,
thank you, Manscaped.
You know, I mean, getting stuff in the mail is alone like an amazing thing. And then it's just such a step up. It's crazy how much of an advance they made. I didn't think it could get much better. And it's just, I mean, they just keep, I don't know where we go from here.
You know, like the first thing I told you when I met you is ceramic blades on my balls are just by far the best blades to use.
I know.
By
and
far.
that was I think how we decided to start the podcast, because I was like, we have
didn't know
this
each other
in common.
First. I just sent you an AIM message on AOL and I just told you that on just completely unprovoked. But and I actually said I gave myself a fade when I got my 3.0, and that was kind of tough. You know, that required skill. But now you got a 1 through a 4. Like, it's literally like you're going to the barber shop, but you can be the barber to your balls.
You're the barber.
Manscaped, tag it, clip it. Let's send it to them. Be the barber for your balls. Use that 1 to 4. Give yourself the fade. It's going to be nice.
Did we just?
We might have.
I think that was. Wow. Tagline secured.
So get 20% off and free shipping with the code unqualified at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code unqualified. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Be the barber for your balls.
Be the barber for your balls. Add it to the end, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. So today we are going to be doing This Week in Comedy. We're going to do a regular episode on Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and then we will be doing Second Draft, Second Laugh. This Week in Comedy, we talked last week about the Elon Musk SNL thing. We're going to do a little reaction, probably not much, honestly. We don't need to harp on it. Yeah. And then we're also going to be doing a little year anniversary stand-up special talk from our guy, Mark Norman. But first, we'll talk Elon. I'll hands up, I did not watch all the sketches. I didn't watch the whole episode.
Neither did I. Gotta be.
I saw the ones that hit social. I saw the popular ones. I saw the gist of it, especially the monologue. The monologue was the most interesting to me because I was like, how is Elon going to do this? You know he's not going to write his own material. I mean, you can't expect him to at all. So it's going to be like one of those, you know, like at the roasts where you had people that were so clearly reading someone else's like killer material in a pretty funny way, actually.
I mean, it's all about delivery at that point. So, like, if you have somebody who's competent with public speaking in any way at a roast, you're going to kill it. Because if you have ghostwriters behind you, you'll kill it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you know that there are ghostwriters, which is it's all good. Like, we get it. Well, that's what we're here for.
You need it.
It's cool seeing someone not in the scene actually deliver it. And the funny thing, you said public speaking, Elon is notoriously not a good public speaker. He has, and he calls it out right away as Asperger's. Like he's just one of those people. He's very smart. He generally doesn't come across as like a perfect, perfect comedic timing person. But he literally says like his lack of intonation and like inflection is he makes a deadpan joke. Yeah, he says that in the monologue. He's like, which I've been told is good comedically. So he keeps moving along with this monologue, and it's actually really well done. And I was pretty like proud of him, honestly.
Well, because we were talking and we were like, it could be incredibly bad and just like holy.
Oh,
wow,
especially with that promo clip. I sent it to you, and I was like, this is going to be bad.
Well, that I don't know if they did that on purpose. They used like the worst take from that day.
Yeah.
See, I think they could have used the worst take from that day and said like, let's throw him off the trail a little bit.
We've been trying to outthink everyone else with this Elon Musk thing. We were trying to be quote unquote woke on why Lord Michaels did it. I'm glad you saved me there because I wouldn't have thought of that. I think they might have done that. But
I think it's fake.
You know, he did really well. His mom came up, and you can't expect his mom to do well. I think she was horribly uncomfortable. It was a little awkward
wouldn't you
exchange.
be like if you're just bringing your mom up?
Yeah,
I think that's a little bit much.
Like Elon agreed to it. His mom didn't necessarily too. So, but you know, she did. I bet she did her best.
That's
some
not
of the sketches,
really a staple of SNL either. It's like, hey, bring your mom up. Let's do something.
No, Mother's Day, I guess. I bet it's been done before, but I think that there were a few sketches that were pretty good, like that Chad sketch, the colonizing Mars. It was all pretty on brand for Elon. He explained Dogecoin in just as basically an Elon Musk character and Weekend Update. The one we disagreed on, which is I don't understand.
Here we go.
It's this like Gen Z weird speaking thing that to me it sounds like, and I know that SNL writers are like in on everything. They're not old people that are like out of touch, but it felt like old people who are out of touch trying to be in on an inside joke that they're not in on.
But there was, my thing is like, I don't think that it was so much an inside joke as it was the writers knowing what's going on. They're making fun of Gen Z because Gen Z like, TikTok, you guys talk a little crazy. You guys, I love TikTok. Yeah. I'm so involved in the community, but you guys are crazy. Yeah. You guys are all crazy.
I let Woody do all the other commenting and scrolling.
I love the interactions. I do the scrolling. Yeah. I do most of the scrrling.
I comment back to people, but I don't scroll or anything. I
think they hit the nail on the head, honestly.
Okay, but this is what I'm saying. I understand the thought process behind the sketch. I understand the idea generation. It's a what if. It's a what if a doctor was also speaking like these people who are in the waiting room. That is funny. That's a funny comedic premise. I just don't know if it was. I don't know if it was perfect execution, but I don't know if there was a way to. But that's the thing I was thinking. Who else would have been better in this role? It's like the best doctor that you could have is some dorky white guy who's a little into meme culture. That's Elon. The only other person, like if they had like a Tom Hanks, and I think very specifically Tom Hanks, like an old dad who's
I think
so
that would
not
have been
in on it.
worse.
I think that would have been more endearing. I think it was like a little bit of a miss, and Elon should have. I do think Elon was the guy to do it. I just don't think
he
that
was
maybe,
good.
Maybe it just wasn't for me, and that's
Here's
that's
where
what
I
we always
differ.
come back to. The sketch probably just wasn't for me.
Here's where I differ with you. I think he was perfect for it because he's like that nerdy, like he's saying it, but we get it, blah blah blah, all of that.
Yeah.
Like he's saying it. It's funny that he's saying it the way he does, just because hearing Elon saying "bestie" is funny in itself.
But also, he's the Dogecoin guy. Like this is his thing.
Okay, but there's memes on Twitter, and then there's actually bringing it into real life and like involving. Like if you say ASAP in real life, you got some issues.
I mean,
okay?
ASAP's
you got
a
some
pretty
things to
common
deal.
thing, yeah,
okay.
I know what you're saying. Like bestie, gang.
Yeah,
like
my issue with the delivery was I think it was the cast. I think that they were too.
I would probably agree. Yeah,
above and beyond. It's like, okay, you don't have to yell like bestie. You know, I know that's like a classic. I don't know. It might not be. This current cast may not necessarily be for me. I don't know. I don't want to make too broad a statement. It might have been just that one sketch.
I've liked some stuff that have seen. Yeah,
no, so have I.
I'm
saying it might just be this one sketch.
Yeah, we didn't agree on this sketch. I think that you liked it more than I did.
I did like it.
I just thought it was one that I thought we'd talk about because, people like the disagreement. That we got to disagree sometimes.
Yeah, dude. I did like it. I thought that it was actually pretty funny, especially on.
Let's talk. We'll just talk. Basically, this is going to be a highlight because, we can't review comedy specials. I think that is a thing to do, and I think it's a ridiculous thing to do, especially stand-up. We were just saying sketch isn't for everyone. Stand-up it's just not for everyone. Certain stand-ups are for certain people, and I think that comedy reviewers in general are ridiculous. I think obviously we do comedy movies, we talk about comedy, and we just say what we like, but Mark Norman is someone I really like because he, in his special Out to Lunch, is I think about a year old now. I think it's about to be the 1 year anniversary. He is it's on YouTube, and he's been doing a whole gamut of podcast appearances. And I don't think it's necessarily even to like try to revive this because it did numbers. Like he is a well-established comedian, and he's one of those old school guys. He's like a joke guy, but in a very refreshing way nowadays, I feel.
He brings a new flavor to like the classic. He's not a story guy, which I feel like a lot of nowadays. Yeah, a lot of comedy, and especially the specials that we see are mostly stories, and that's a Tom Segura special. Literally, that's the name of the special. It's mostly stories.
Yeah. Kreischer, huge story guy. Yeah.
Even Bargatze stories, Chappelle stories, Rogan stories, like anybody you can think of. I mean, like Nikki Glaser does stories. Everybody does stories.
Nikki Glaser too.
And coming in from that perspective, there's not a whole lot of people who go true to form. Like, I feel like. Wasn't Don Rickles like classic just joke guy? Like, just you bring back that flavor. You bring the 21st century flavor to like just jokes, and it's a nice different way to go about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's nice. Like the jokes per minute is so much better. I mean, there's those intermittent jokes and stories, but it's such a nice change up. Yeah. It's like going from pie to ice cream. It's like they're both good in their own right. You may be feeling both one on one
ice
night.
Cream are awesome. Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying you may be feeling one night and feeling another the other night.
I also think it's so interesting thinking about how people put these sets together. Obviously, everyone has to keep in mind the fact that they're not just sitting there telling a story. There are jokes implanted each amount of time, and it's not scientific. It's comedy, but there is a general way. Like I need to pump up a joke here. I need to punch this up a little. This part, but there's something that's so crazy just to be able just to keep doing setup punchlines. And it's not like a Dimitri Martin where it literally is just one-liners for like an hour. He does a little bit of a storytelling. Like he doesn't even consider himself like the old school setup punchline. But that's, I mean, he leans that way. And also, I mean, just his voice is like, it's kind of like that, you know, comedy. Yeah. I'm Kevin Hart, I'm gay.
Here I am. Wow, we're going.
Yeah,
but
it's like hearing him talk on podcasts about how he formulates, and I think that he even like has a YouTube video about it or something, and he talks about it, how many iterations his jokes go through until he gets the perfect word. I think it just shows when you have a special like this, you know, like every single word is calculated and it's so perfect.
Well, especially for him where it's more the quick delivery. Like everything matters in those, because it could be 2 sentences, 3 sentences, and in those every single word matters.
Yeah.
Whereas in a story, like, yes, you can hone that down, but there's can be slight changes here and there. Like that's how you perfect it. And now, I mean, the best story that we can probably reference, and I know it's been talked about so much, there's a movie coming out, but
oh yeah,
like The Machine is probably one of the best stories to date comedically that the world has seen.
I would say
that's
so.
not
I mean,
even
it's
an
getting a
overstatement.
feature-length movie with Mark Hamill done by like a legitimate studio. It's not like they're just funding it themselves.
I know, and it's insane because then you look at Burton, he's like, yeah, I could tell that story in 17 flat. Like I could just do it. Like it's nothing to him now, where he's got it so perfected. So it's the wording
like, I
of
just
that.
wanted to die.
Yeah, like, just let it go. After this, just let it go.
Yeah.
Set it out
I'm
to
excited
sea.
for that. Oh, I cannot wait to break that down.
Oh my God, that's gonna be so awesome.
It's gonna be the greatest day in sincerely unqualified history. Come on,
that's gonna be. You know those Viking funerals where they put the boat out and they shoot the arrow up.
That's gonna be our last ride.
That's the
We're
Machine
gonna go out with
story. The Machine story is gonna be that. Just when the movie comes out, it's that arrow flying over to the Machine story and just setting it on fire. Somebody made that a video. We'll make that a meme when it's. Yeah, at the time. Sure. We'll go.
So, obviously, that movie's going to be fantastic. We are here. We're all here because we're talking Scott Pilgrim. We can get into it. So, it got an 82/84 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's 82 critic, 84 audience. It's directed by Edgar Wright. So, the Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, The World's End director. Classic British, fantastic director comedically. And then he also wrote the movie along with Michael Bacall, I believe is how you pronounce that, who he also wrote on the Jump Street movies and Project X. So you
have some good movies between them.
Yes.
I'd
you
say.
have heavy hitters. And also, I mean, Edgar Wright, if you're a huge comedy fan, you probably know he's very stylized. Like he has his own thing going on for sure.
Yeah. I think that, you know, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and all of those, you know, classic movies, they're all in their own right, like a different wave. You know, like there's a whole different vibe than, and you can tell that that's with specific producers or directors or everything like that, where if you're watching a Judd movie, you're watching a Judd movie. If you're watching a Sandler movie, you're watching a Sandler movie. If you're watching, you know, a Hot Fuzz, a Shaun of the Dead, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And it's a different style and it's incredible.
Yeah. And I want to do those soon, by the way.
So bad.
Shaun of the Dead is one of my favorites. Also, like, we don't really get into this. We'll normally only talk directors. Sometimes we throw writers in there. Today we did. This movie is just so above what he normally does. Like we say he's stylized with Shaun of the Dead, that's one thing, and it is very stylized, but it's so heightened because this is based on a graphic novel, Scott Pilgrim. So the director of photography, which I didn't think we would ever talk director of photography on this podcast, but he also did the Matrix, and then right after that, funny enough, what does he do? The pilot of Freaks and Geeks. So it's crazy seeing, like,
weaving it all together.
Yeah, like he has this incredible, I mean, The Matrix is something in itself in terms of like cinematography, and then just Freaks and Geeks. So he knows what to do comedically, and apparently he immerses himself in the story so much. And that's what makes it perfect, because it's done like this cool video game comic book. According to Edgar Wright, by the way, I did not even pick up on this the first like 7 times I watched this. he says that it's like a musical. Like, he considers it to be a musical, and I consider it to be like a video game.
It kind of is. Okay.
I mean, there's
Here's
music
where
in
I
it,
can see
which is
it.
awesome.
No, but here's where I can see it being a musical almost. Because there's plot drivers, and then the majority of the important scenes happen either when they're performing or when they're singing or when there's music.
Well,
so like,
funny enough, he considers the musical scenes, like the scenes where he says this is a musical, as the fight scenes.
yeah, they are. Yeah, all of those are like the plot thickened scenes, or like those are the video game-esque scenes. So it's just kind of like, okay, if you were to look at another musical or something like that and say, okay, let's do like a Footloose or Grease or something. All of that, like, there's interludes and everything, but the main shit happens when like they're all singing, they're all doing the musical stuff. That's what happens with the fights in this movie. So I can kind of see the similarities there. Yeah, exactly.
And also
so
they're
it's
like performances in themselves, I guess, like all fights are. You know, it's choreography.
Because
it's just
like
interesting hearing that.
Interlude, and then it leads up to it, and then it just kind of breaks into song, and then that's when all the action starts.
Yeah, that's when Scott randomly gets beat up, which we'll talk about.
By everybody.
Yeah. So we got the cast. I mean, Michael Cera as Scott. This is one of his bigger roles. I guess it's just so perfect for him. Maybe not his biggest role, obviously, but I'm saying like it's just so perfectly Michael Cera.
It was written for him. It had to be. And if it wasn't, this was perfect casting.
So we have Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Ramona, Kieran Culkin as Wallace, Anna Kendrick as Stacy, Allison Pill as Kim, Aubrey Plaza as Julie, Jason Schwartzman as Gideon, Johnny Simmons. Huh?
Gideon. That Paul Rudd interview with Jason Segel where they're like, Gideon is coming.
I thought I said it weird. Johnny Simmons is Young Neil, Chris Evans is Lucas Lee, and Brie Larson as Envy. There are a lot of other people. There are a lot of characters in this movie.
I just gotta say, number one, two people that need to be talked about more are in this cast. There's two Avengers in the cast, I think, if I'm not missing anybody. But Aubrey Plaza is incredible, and Kieran Culkin is, I think, one of the best actors at the moment in Hollywood.
You were saying that.
And it's crazy seeing like 10 years ago, I didn't even know he was in this, and then saw, and I was like, oh my god, is that's
him?
But
that's him.
Just from Succession. But those two, I think Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Recreation is probably one of the funniest people I've seen. And in this movie, she kills it. I mean, absolutely murders.
It's also, that's another one. It's just so perfectly her.
I know.
Like this movie, it makes so much sense that Aubrey Plaza's in this movie.
And she just gets to play herself, I feel like. Yeah. And like, just kills it every time.
Every actor plays a version of themselves for the most part, but I feel like Aubrey Plaza there's always a good comedic part for that. Like, it's always interesting enough that she has to be in there. But yeah, I just think this is so ridiculously well done in terms of directing, in terms of cinematography. Like Sarah could not have been better. It's so aware of what it is and so unashamed of what it is, which is why I think it might not have done too well at the box office, because we didn't have too many like very comic book or video game filmed movies, especially that were comedies. Like, I feel like it could have been off-putting at the time, but once you actually sit down and watch it, as we said in the beginning, you're hooked. I mean, you're just like, this movie is so good.
The way it was filmed, I have to say, within the first 15 minutes, I was like, holy shit.
Like, what is going on? There's just like smash cuts that aren't even really smash cuts. You're like, these people are here now?
Finish each other's sentences, or like there's a cut where it makes so much sense that it cut to that, but it just cuts immediately and it just skips time, or it's just like...
Like, it kind of like, it's almost disarming in a way. You're almost like, what is happening? But like, you're also right there with it. Yeah, and you need to pay attention too. Yeah, you definitely need to pay attention. But, or you'll kind of be left in the dust because you'll be missing out on all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think it was one of the most interesting, and for me, like, recently, one of the most unique things I've seen.
It's the most unique movie, I think, that Well, one of the most unique movies I have ever seen in terms of like exactly what it is, in terms of looking like it does and being as funny as it is, and it's just so true to form.
Even like they never gave up on the everything makes a sound and you see it like a comic book.
Yeah.
Like the amount of detail that went into that is,
and how like they interacted with all that too. So like, a very easy example is when Michael Cera, spoiler, we're not doing spoilers. Michael Cera, like the 1-Up starts jumping and he says getting a life and just grabs it. It's perfect. It's so perfect.
I know, it's incredible. I think that watching it for the first time and going through and seeing this new way of filming a movie, and it made it seem like I was watching a comic book, which I didn't think was, because you see these comic book movies and they don't stick to that comic book format where it's like one storyboard item, you're here and then you go there. Like there's a clear distinction between like, okay, we're here, now we're here.
Have you seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
No, I need to actually.
Oh, dude,
yeah, that's one thing. I've heard everybody talk it up so much.
That is filmed like a comic book, but it's filmed. It's animated like a comic book.
Yeah,
very. By the way, incredible movie. But yeah, this is. I feel like this, to me, this always looked more like a video game.
Yeah, it's really cool. Okay, you know what video game it looks like, and I don't know if you ever played this, but it was one of my favorite games of all time. Mm-hmm. It reminds me a lot of Borderlands. Because
I actually never watched. Yeah, no. To me, I think it's almost like those. I feel like it's a mix of like those old 8-bit games and then like a little bit of like Street Fighter or like a Final Fantasy, like one of those like Japanese games.
So Borderlands does a very similar thing to that, where it's like the realism, but it's also very cartoony, and at the same time it has like all of the hit markers and show the points coming off and all the sounds and everything. And it's just it's very much like this. It's obviously a different like alien planet and everything, but it's very similar to this, where I was watching and I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like I see where the connection lies, because you were saying video game and I was like, okay, I'm thinking what video games I know that are very similar.
Yeah, to me it's like an old-timey one. Like it's the nods, like the Pac-Man? Street Fighters, the Pac-Mans. Like I think it's a whole lot of them, but it's definitely like it's like it almost seems like a celebration of nerd culture, and I put that in quotes for those who aren't watching. Well, you head over to our YouTube. Give us a view, a like, comment, do all that good stuff. Please subscribe.
What was that Spielberg movie where he, Ready Player One? This movie is
I
what.
Didn't know that. Yeah.
Ready Player One wishes it was, because it was so. I mean.
Yeah, Ready Player One was just like, hey, you know this character? Oh, you know this other one? You know these other 400?
Hey, remember video games? Like, fucking, yeah, I do.
Love this shit.
Yeah. Remember Donkey Kong? What? He's in this?
What?
No way.
TJ Miller. Dude, actually, so you know what's funny about I read this after I had this thought. Just throwing that out there. I'm original. I'm the best.
Yeah.
So it actually isn't even that related. It's just the same thing. So the director of photography, the DP, went from The Matrix to Freaks and Geeks. And something I was thinking, because little insight here to the folks, is that we were also thinking about doing Napoleon Dynamite. And I was like, they're kind of two like geeky, kind of cool movies like that. And Freaks and Geeks, I feel like this movie is for the geeks and Napoleon Dynamite is for the freaks. And for whatever reason, I feel so strongly about that. Like that Freaks and Geeks is like a real world thing, that I feel like the freaks would love Napoleon Dynamite and that the geeks would love this movie.
You're very right in that. I think I can see, I can see that a lot.
Little cross worlds. By the way, if you're listening to this and have not checked out our Freaks and Geeks episode, if you've seen that show, if not, go watch that show. Check out our episode. We do a full series breakdown. I'm just plugging things. I'm just here to plug.
King plug. You're king plug. We plug our own stuff shamelessly. But I do think James Franco and Seth Rogen would be watching Napoleon Dynamite like, Kip.
I think Seth Rogen, 100% his character would love it.
Absolutely.
I think, yeah. I was going to go way too deep into a Freaks and Geeks analogy, and I'm not going to do that. I'll save the people.
It's getting kind of serious. But
did we want to, do you want to say anything else, like in the overview section, or?
I think the cinematography blew me away. I think the overall film.
And by the way, we totally know what that means. Like, totally.
Okay, so we claim to know what these things are. Just laying it out there.
Cinematography is kind of one of those things that I feel like you know what it is, but also at the same time, definitionally, like if I would probably get it wrong. But we just mean the look of the movie, how it's shot, how it's done, the conventions of it.
I think that's it.
I'm just saying random things at this point, but we all know what we're talking about. We are sincerely unqualified. You know what you're getting here.
You hear the word cinematography, you know what it means.
It's a thing.
You just do. It's
film,
It's
guys.
intuitive. You just hear it. You see somebody get the Oscar, and you're like, I don't know what that means, but congratulations. And then they give them 30 seconds and walk off.
I saw Parasite.
Hey, I know. Set design? No. Cinematography. Okay, cool. Next.
Yeah. So should we move into this plot run through?
Yes.
Get into the movie, break it down a little bit. Might be a little more concise just because there's like so much that happens. We would go so deep into the weeds. But basically, something that's, a name that you don't really want to be attached to, but I'm going to throw it out there. Not quite Woody Allen-ish, but let's point out he's dating a 17-year-old, which is not legal age. Is it in Canada though? I don't know. In Toronto?
Honestly, in this world where people get like beat up and die and fight dragons and stuff,
why not?
Maybe is it so irrational to think like 17 is out of the reach for them?
Yeah, obviously it's done in a way that it's not weird. By the way, sorry to our Canadian listeners if I sound like a crazy person, but
you're so ignorant,
ignorant person. I said crazy. Let's point out that they do specifically like talk about them not doing stuff together. That's everyone's first question. They're like, she's 17. He's like, no, we didn't.
We haven't even
almost
hugged.
held hands.
Yeah,
like they kiss or whatever. It's just kind of cute. But also, Michael Cera is so immature that you're like, okay, this makes sense. But
also, her name is Knives.
Cool name.
Really cool name.
Pretty cool name.
Like that was dope.
So they're dating, and then he has a dream. Scott has a dream about this girl, pink hair, riding rollerblading. Riding rollerblades. Has anyone ever said riding rollerblades?
Rollerblades? No.
I hope
to God nobody's ever said that.
Myself.
Just riding your rollerblades over there.
What are you doing? Riding rollerblades. By the way, I don't know if that's a thing in New York now, but I literally I do see people rollerblading sometimes in Orange County. It's just a little insight into my life, folks. Like
it does
an hour ago, I saw a girl with pink hair riding rollerblading. I was like, what is going on?
Does it not seem convenient to ride rollerblades though?
Well, you know what the funny thing is? People do it as exercise on this trail that I live right by. Like, she was with a guy who was jogging and she was rollerblading. And maybe that's a good workout. I don't know. I just haven't rollerbladed in a very long time. But
doesn't it seem like... Okay, did she have the ones with the double wheels on the side?
Yes.
Or the four straight?
From what I saw, I saw the double wheel.
She had the 1980s loop-de-loop ones where you just go in a circle, that kind?
No, she was blading. I'll tell you that much. Hey, good for her though. So they go to a party, and guess who happens to be there? The girl from his dreams, and he sees her before that when he's with his girlfriend in a library.
Yeah.
So the girl of his dreams is there, and then he decides to go up and talk to her, and he absolutely blows it. He just cannot talk to her. Tells her a Pac-Man story that we'll talk about during Inexclusive Exclusives, but she couldn't be less interested, and she ends up leaving. He talks to her for a little at the party. She ends up leaving, and then just pieces together a lot of really small info about her from like a lot of different people, which is also another really cool scene. He just keeps like flashing characters up, and they keep like saying things about her.
I know. I love that. The first one, the guy Komyo, or like whatever his name is.
Yes.
It was just like, I loved, especially.
He's the best, by the way.
I know. That guy is awesome. He was in Veep too. But,
yeah, and he was in New Girl.
Yeah. And I love what they do cinematography wise, where they flash the name and it's like little thing about them below it, and it was just like Komio knows everybody.
Knows everybody. 25.
25 years old, knows everybody.
Apparently that was in the graphic novel, like specifically having the name cards up.
Yeah.
And they kept it really true to that.
I love that. I think that was a great addition. It's like, because either when you're playing a video game or you're reading a comic or something like that, you need those introductions, because it's not, you can pick it up through context or anything. Like, you need to know who these people are now.
Yeah. It makes it very, that's what suits it so well in terms of how this movie is. It's so quick. Like, it just makes it very quick. So yeah, one of those things that he learns is that she's an Amazon delivery girl, and he ends up ordering a package and then just waits for it to come, which honestly, back in 2010, 11 years ago, I'm not sure if they had that 2-day. I would assume not. I think that's
that seems
new.
pretty early for that 2-day Prime shipping.
So you know what's actually funny is that we had some humor around them saying like, or Kieran Culkin was like, you just ordered it, like she's not gonna be here right
You're
away.
gonna wait at the door, like.
And then it was Knives that showed up, and nowadays we would have like the actual Amazon person. Oh wow, that was quick.
They'd already be there. They'd be like, "We knew what you wanted. We're here." Like,
it's such cringe humor. Yeah.
Please give us a break. Like,
that'd be pretty funny. I haven't seen my family in 3 months. Sorry if you're an Amazon delivery driver. Hey, if you're an Amazon delivery driver listening to this, thanks for doing what you do.
I'm sorry, the label's wet. It's put on with my tears. Okay.
So he asks Ramona out, and she's just uncomfortable and basically agrees to get out of the situation, and they go on a date, but he does not tell Knives. They end up back at her place. Things get a little hot and heavy. Nothing happens though. They just end up cuddling, basically.
Yeah.
You can always go for a nice cuddle, right?
I was literally going to say the same thing. Like, just sometimes you need a nice cuddle instead.
Sometimes I just want to be held.
So it's nice to be, look, Little Spoon cannot be overstated. Gonna be honest.
I think we're past that now. I think back in the day, people were like, no, I don't do that. Yeah, dude.
If you're the man, you must be always big spoon. It's like,
it's just a really popular thing for Middle Eastern people to say. Is that was that voice you were doing?
That was an ambiguous accent. It could have been Russian.
An ambiguous accent.
It could have been anything.
But so they go to this battle of the bands that they hear about. And it's kind of just like these grungy bands. The first one is just doing I'm so sad, and then I hate you, please die.
I love that song.
And I don't know if those were the actual names of the songs. I kind of forget.
It's
but
literally like 2 words.
Those were the vibes. Yeah, they're very short. And then as the Sex Bombs are playing, we get our first glimpse into the fight, and because Scott skims through the email that we see, he's talking about like a duel to the death. And then he comes up really hot, starts fighting him. He has like these weird demon like ghosts behind him in this kind of musical thing.
With, like,
we're gonna rank
teeth.
the X's, by the way, so we won't give much away. We'll just kind of walk through this plot.
I think that, I love the part where he's reading the email. He goes, all right, you're going to fight to the death. Like, I'm coming for you, blah, blah, blah. He goes, so boring.
Yeah.
Like, delete.
Yep.
I thought that was so good.
That was a good one. And then so he ends up beating him. And then they're going through and they hear about this movie that's happening. It's being filmed in Toronto. And Wallace has a huge crush on the guy. It ends up being Chris Evans. So
Avenger number 1.
Yes. They show up at the set, and then he quickly learns that he's the second X. And this is funny because he ends up he's so much bigger than him. You think he's just going to handle Scott. Like, you think it's going to be quick, and then he like throws him like crazy, and then all of a sudden, all of his stunt doubles just end up beating the shit out of Scott.
There's like 12 of them.
Yeah.
Just literally 12 people roll up on him with skateboards and start beating the shit out of him. Turns out, Scott's got a handle on it.
Scott doesn't think too about fighting.
I love the fact that it's Michael Cera too, and like you turn around, there's 12 Chris Evans stunt doubles, and they're all on the ground, and he's like, "Hey, you want some more?"
Yeah, you have these just beefy dudes, and then you have Michael Cera like, "I beat him.
If you want some more, I could give it to you. Only if you want."
All of his little taglines when he's fighting the X's are so good. We should have ranked those too, but we'll talk the X's.
Yeah, we'll talk.
But so like as these, like we were talking about this musical, like these plot progresses, we have these huge performances with fights. Obviously the plot's moving along, and the main plot that's happening is everyone finally convinces Scott to break up with Knives. She doesn't take it well. She texts young Neil like, "OMG, you're so hot."
I love how it's young Neil, and young Neil is one of the best characters, I will say.
Oh yeah.
Just because I don't know if he knows where he is at any point.
No, he's just hanging out.
Movie.
I like him. He's just the hype guy.
He introduces himself like they're like, "All right, that's Neil." He goes, "I'm Neil." And then when they leave, just with the band and Neil's standing there, he just goes, they're like, "Neil, you know your party?" He goes, "I'm Neil."
Yeah, but he do it. He's always he's
young Neil.
He seems to me like I think that if they were a ska band, if anyone knows the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, this might be way too specific of a reference, but they have a guy. There. Well, that's the thing. They have a guy that literally just dances on stage. Like a band member doesn't do anything. He just goes to all the shows and just dances on stage. He's their hype man, but he doesn't say anything. That's young Neil. If they were a ska band, young Neil would be like jamming with everyone. Like young Neil. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's crazy that Anna Kendrick is his sister too.
Yes,
I keep forgetting that.
Also talk about that in Exclusive Exclusives. Why that might not make too much sense, but sure, it made sense.
It made enough sense. She was doing the Cup song in the background. We didn't get to see it, but that was part of the musical, was her going like doing the cups.
There you go.
What was that, 2007? Everyone was like...
Was that 2007? No. It had to be after that.
What was the fucking movie
I would say like 2011
or
like 20... I don't know.
Anna Kendrick's...
What? Pitch
Anna
Perfect?
Kendrick. Pitch Perfect.
All right, as you're looking
2012.
that up...
Who cares?
Yeah, 2012. Yeah. Okay, I was 1 year off. Oh my gosh.
Song's been in my head.
Obviously, we also kind of behind the big shows, we are hearing all this stuff about Scott's ex-girlfriend, like the big ex, and that she's in this band, and that she ends up being in town. They end up opening for her band, and we learn that the bassist is one of Ramona's exes. So after the show, they're all sitting there, and it's super awkward. He ends up punching Knives like super hard. Young Neil can't do anything about it. He's just young Neil. But even though he's probably like a little bigger than Michael Cera, but you know, Michael Cera's got those moves.
Yeah.
He starts fighting him. But yeah, we learned that he is vegan. This bass player is a vegan who has special powers. He's this superhero.
Because he's vegan.
And he outmatches Scott. Like, he has these superpowers. There's nothing Scott can do. And Scott actually tries to outplay him on bass. Doesn't work out. That's also talk about. Well, yeah, we'll rank him. So he tricks him. He basically outsmarts him. He makes him drink half and half instead of soy. So the vegan police show up, which is just a hilarious little thing to throw in. Like, probably the most true, quote unquote, comedic things that happens. Just a it's like a Family Guy episode kind of thing. Just the vegan
just
police
making fun of vegan. I love that where she goes like his Envy, his ex-girlfriend, was just like Todd's vegan. It's really not that big of a deal. And they just keep bringing it up that he's vegan.
He's like, it basically just means he's better than you.
Yeah. Just keep hammering that in. I feel like that was the beginning of the vegan craze, so they get a pass now.
I think that it was actually kind of prime. Like, now whenever I hear people make fun of vegans, it's like, haven't we done that for the last, too long? This might have been like,
I know. It was a personal attack for you.
Well, I mean, I was vegan, and I honestly didn't really care when I heard anything about it.
Did you feel better than everyone? Kevin thought he was better than everyone for like a straight 3 months.
Better than everyone all the time. That's my key.
I mean, yeah, even more so at that point.
Oh, yeah. I was like, did you know I don't eat animal products? It's the only thing that came out of my mouth.
I don't eat animal products, and we just drafted Jalen Reagor. It's going to be a hell of a year.
was riding high. And we just drafted the best college football wide receiver to ever play college football.
Yeah,
Devontae
right.
Smith, shout out. So
Okay.
after the party, at the after party, we see someone who actually already showed up. She started trying to fight him, and then Scott was just like not having it. He was just walking on the sidewalk, and she's like, "I'll see you later." We see her pop up. We learn that Ramona had a bi-curious phase, as she says, and this ex is a little bi-furious. So we have this like it looks like a shout out to video games where they have like those crazy weapons, because she has this like disco ball belt.
Yeah, like this reflective, like
I think it's supposed to be a disco ball, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
I think it's like a disco ball that turns into a whip chain kind of thing.
Super cool. But then, Ramona also pulls out this huge, like comically large hammer, and they start going at it. And then she actually tells him Scott has to be the one that beats her. So Ramona starts using his hands and beats him up in like a kind of a funny, cool way. And then kind of odd, as she's about to beat him, she tells Scott to touch the back of her knee, and she basically just finishes to legitimate completion.
Yeah, absolutely. She was like, "You'll never be able to do this with her." Hey, she finished. Got me.
Women, girls don't finish first.
orgasms. Hey, women, they have orgasms.
Hey, this
you
is
can't
one
make
girl.
it happen.
You want to finish first? Hey, I'm Kevin Hart.
Whoa, hey, whoa. I'm Kevin Hart and I'm gay. Hey.
So Scott is just like, he's stressed out at this point. He basically has like had enough. He breaks up with Ramona. I mean, kind of breaks up. I don't know if they actually break up.
Like, kinda.
Yeah, kind of. It's one of those things.
It's one of those in between, out between.
Yeah, so he's just in this bad mood. He's got this edge to him, and then they're preparing for the second round or the third round of the Battle of the Bands, which is the end-all be-all. It's this crazy event. They're going up against this huge DJ duo. They're twins. It's amp versus amp. So they're doing like this techno music, and obviously Scott also knows that they're the next two Evil X's, which I also like this as a plot device, by the way, to kind of speed it up a little, because we spend so much time on the first few. It seems daunting. Like once the third wraps up, you're like, oh my gosh, there are four more. Not that I'm not enjoying the movie at all. It's just like, how long is this going to take, basically? So I kind of like how they lump in and they kind of
the two of them. They were like, hey, there's twins. Don't worry.
Yeah,
like
don't
we're
worry.
almost there.
Yeah. So they have this crazy battle. They're like these weird sound wave monsters that fight each other. Winnie and I are going to have a pretty good discussion about this after our walkthrough. And they end up winning. Obviously, Scott keeps progressing through. We don't need to keep saying that.
Yeah.
But
He keeps winning.
keeps winning. Yeah. Afterwards, Ramona tells Scott that she's going back with Gideon, and Scott also knows that he's the seventh X at this point, obviously. So Gideon ends up offering them a record deal, which is a really shitty thing to do after you're just like, yeah, I'm taking your girlfriend.
Hey, sign this. Sign your life over to me. Also, I just took your girlfriend that you almost died 6 times now for.
Yeah. So obviously Scott is not about it. He's like, no, we're not doing this. Or our guy, the lead singer, does. But they, so like obviously they all end up signing, and young Neil ends up becoming the bassist, and they're playing the Chaos Theater. Gideon's there. Scott's gonna go to try to win back Ramona. Ends up rolling in, and he is fighting. He gets the Power of Love sword because he says he's in love with Ramona, and ultimately ends up getting killed, and he's in limbo. And then Ramona shows up to him in limbo, and we learn that Gideon put a like mind control device in her, which is crazy. Scott's like, that's evil.
Just a little absurd. Yeah, hey.
Ridiculous. So Scott ends up using his 1-up and goes back. He has like this moment of clarity, goes back, does the same exact thing. Well, actually, instead of like doing passwords, he punches the people. He goes up to Gideon, and instead of getting the Power of Love sword, he gets the Power of Self-Respect sword. And then Knives comes down. Instead of fighting Ramona, he tells them right away, hey, I'm sorry I cheated on you, it was wrong. And then Knives and Scott team up, go against Gideon, and ultimately take him out. And then at the end, but Once they're done, Scott, Nega Scott. I'm just going to say that because I don't generally pronounce things too well, so I'm not going to mess around with that.
Hey, I think you should give it a shot.
No.
I think you should.
Nega Scott. So
I think that was worse than.
So I believe it's probably like a Japanese game thing. Nega Scott.
Yeah, it's like Sega instead of, but yeah.
Exactly. So he shows up, he's like this weird looking like gray guy, red eyes, and he's like he has to fight himself. And we're like, oh wow. And they just end up like shooting the shit. He's like, oh, good guy. Yeah, no, we're gonna get coffee next week. Then
like, hey, we're getting lunch next week. Yeah, we're getting brunch. Whatever.
Yeah. So the trio's there. We have them, and then Ramona's like, hey, I'm gonna head out of here. Like, I've caused too much harm. Also, I mean, come on, I literally just killed 7 of these insane fighters for you. You can't stick around for at least another week to try things out.
Wait a second. Yeah. Like, what do you want now? You're just gonna go leave?
Yeah. She thinks that him and Knives are actually really good together, and she thinks that she's doing the right thing. Knives says the same thing back. She's like, you gotta go for her. They go together, they go through the door again, and then I would assume that Scott and Ramona live happily ever after.
We'd hope so, unless there's another X.
Oh, could you imagine if like they just mistyped all the emails and said 7 instead of 8?
Like a preschool ex, it was like, we dated in preschool. It's like, does that count? Well,
he ends up being like, there's a crossover. He ends up being like the Hulk.
Yeah, like,
it's actually Mark Ruffalo.
There's enough Avengers in this for it to carry over, honestly.
Yeah. Hey, let's do this ranking quick because
let's do it.
Ours, I read it to Woody before we started recording, and he said like the opposite thing of my one.
Yeah.
So my number 1 fight is the twins. It's at that last round of the Battle of the Bands. They had this like grungy little monster dude going up against their dragons, and they beat them with like their rock as opposed to some like crazy sound system DJ thing. That was my favorite.
That was okay.
That was your least favorite.
It's not my least favorite because Matt Patel was probably my least favorite.
Yeah, that was mine.
But I mean, comedically he was great, but fight wise, I think he was the last.
Yeah, I think it was like a little warm up.
They're number 5 for me. I think the girl was number 4. Gideon was number 3, and then I don't know. I think Lucas number 2.
Yeah, so you have that Chris Evans, like that double fight at 2.
And then Todd number 1.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really funny, that whole fucking sequence.
Yeah, I really like the Todd one. I actually thought that the Gideon thing was cool just because it happened twice. It was the same thing. I like the power of self-respect thing, and I think we always talk about chalk. That might be a little chalky. So I have the twins at 1. I have Gideon at 2. Todd at 3. Lucas at 4, that stunt double thing where he ends up just tricking him to go down this huge rail. And then something with an R. I'm forgetting the girl's name, but the girl fight at 5, and then Matt. I got our guy Patel at 6.
Yeah, I think that's we agree to disagree, but I think that you can't go wrong with Todd at number 1, and you can't go wrong with.
What I do want to know, because I'm holding the twins at number 1. You said that you just thought it was like kind of cheating. You're like, I don't know. I thought it was like a little too. It was a
plot device. It was not. I like when he was fighting them himself instead of like there's a giant King Kong fighting. Like it was literally Kong versus Godzilla 10 years before its time. Yeah, with honestly like maybe better animation. Maybe it was better animation than this new one.
13-year-old me was just like, I thought it was cooler. Like, I saw the fighting, and I was like, oh, they did something different. And they're like, he's actually using his music. Like, they're fighting each other with music. I think it's so cool. Like, I think that it's so cool that they had, and I just like the little monster guy. I was like, that's so sex too,
but I was like, I kind of want him to fight these two, too. Just, like, throw the bass at him. I like the music part of it, though. I also love that.
I think what makes me like that the most is because I really enjoyed the song that they were playing while they were playing it. That song rocked.
Okay, you're a big music guy, so that makes more sense.
Maybe that is it, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like the music fan. But do you want to move on to Inexclusive Exclusives here?
Let's do it.
We'll do a little bit here. So the premise of this movie, I mean, we should say the premise of this graphic novel that the movie was based on. So the first we should say Brian Lee O'Malley wrote them, and again, give him the credit he deserves there. So the premise basically came because he had two ideas. It was essentially two premises that he wrapped up into one. And the first was, what if after a life of playing fighting games, someone confronted you and you actually had the ability to fight like a character, like something in like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat's coming out, I think those are kind of in the same vein. And then also he was thinking about the concept that he was writing this graphic novel. I believe that he was engaged, or he was dating who is now his wife, and he learned that she had three different guys. She had dated three different guys named Matthew, and he developed this thing in his mind, the League of Matthews, and then it devolved into the League of X's, the League of Evil X's. And obviously Matt Patel, he's the only one that ended up being Matthew, but he is the number one.
We Matthews have some effect.
Yeah. So that it gets made into this movie, and we actually already touched on this a lot. We're just going to keep this in Inexclusive Exclusives too, because it is an interesting fact that Edgar Wright stated that the movie was done in a style of a musical, but instead of breaking the characters into song and dance, they broke into a fight, and that actually. We keep talking Matthew Patel. The battle between Scott and Matthew Patel was done in this style of like a Bollywood fight scene. So
that makes
like
a lot
this
of sense.
Showtime, yeah, and like you had the I guess demons back there doing like a proper musical kind of thing. His was obviously the most proper musical out of all of it. The others were just kind of like that concept in essence, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Move the plot along between like with interludes.
That was the introduction too, so you had to go a little harder at the start to be like, all right, here's what we're getting into.
Yeah.
Buckle up and get ready to go.
Yeah.
So at the start of the movie, before it even started, before it filmed, all of the characters were given a list of 10 secret things about their characters, which for this movie seems so fitting.
Oh yeah. That's such an interesting thing to do. I bet it's probably similar things have been done with other movies in the past.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we're hearing of it in the movies that we've done. Like, that's how you really get to know your character, I feel. Like, if you have these secret things and, like, you kind of know things that other people don't, I think that's why all these people were able to act so well.
And it brings you closer to that character. You're like, all right, that really could be me. I need to pretend to be this person here.
About them.
Yeah. Hey, it's like your own secret. You protect it. Maybe you don't share it with everybody. Everyone's asking each other like, so what do you get?
It comes out in and that's also like probably how you get genuine acting out of the other ones, because obviously all these people have read the script, they know the lines. But when you get something new thrown at you, and your like genuine reaction is to that little insight that you're like, oh, I didn't know that about your character, let me play with that.
Like that one line in the script could completely change based on what one of the secrets was.
Yeah definitely.
And that's, I mean, maybe they don't like peanut butter. Okay, well, that affects maybe something down the road. You know, it's something as simple as that. It's a really cool plot device. I feel like, great use of this in this movie.
Yeah.
Also, another thing that was kind of a plot device was Scott's Pac-Man pickup line, which is true, because Pac-Man was originally called Puck-Man, but his name was changed in American markets to avoid any unwanted vandalism, which is basically changing the P to an F.
What would it say, man?
I don't know, dude. I can't.
No, that's honestly, get out ahead of that. That was a good job, especially because that's supposed to be like a nice like game for everyone to play. Yeah, you don't want kids seeing that, I guess.
It is really good foresight on their part. I gotta be honest.
Yeah. Ellen Wong, Knives, in this movie. She auditioned for the role 3 times, and she got Edgar Wright's attention after he found out that she was a green belt in Taekwondo, so she could fight. Like Scott Pilgrim, and it was also her film debut. So she wasn't known. He just was impressed with her in auditions, and then also obviously in the end, her taekwondo skills came in to play there. Awesome fighting with her and Scott. So this next one, the 4 cast members of Sex Bob-omb, obviously, love the music, great music that they were playing. So 3 of the members actually didn't know how to play their instruments. They had to learn these instruments. Scott, Michael Cera, was the only one that knew how to play his instrument. So Scott played bass before this movie, and he actually ended up having to like dumb down his skills a little just so he didn't outshine like in it. Yeah. So he's apparently good enough at bass that but they had to have this like crappy kind of band feel, struggling artist in Toronto. But yeah, no, the other 3 learned these instruments, and honestly, they were very good. Like I really liked the music.
Yeah. I mean, I would believe that they're a band, honestly.
Yeah.
After seeing that. I didn't know Michael Cera was that good though. I mean,
apparently he is, yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like he's a jack of all trades.
Shouts out Michael Cera and the Michael Cera stands. We love you.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the first Battle of the Bands, he was wearing a Plumlee t-shirt, which is an indie rock band that released the song Scott Pilgrim in 1998. Oh, Scott Pilgrim. What does this have to do? Well, the song was the inspiration for Brian Lee O'Malley to name him that in one of the graphic novels. So Scott Pilgrim was kind of stemmed from that indie rock band, which, you see the indie rock kind of flow in this whole series, in the comic book and the movie. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, and Scott is wearing a Plumlee t-shirt in one of the scenes.
Yeah, so the connection is there. It's all there. And in the record store, when Knives picks up the Clash at Demon Head CD, Scott throws it onto another rack, and the Beck album Odelay is visible, and Beck wrote Ramona and composed the music for Sex Bob-omb.
For the
How
Sex
do you say
Bob-ombs.
Bob-ombs?
Bob-ombs.
It's a tongue twister,
Beck,
honestly.
I know him for Loser.
Beck.
Yeah. Beck wrote all of the music for Sex Bob-omb. Pretty cool stuff.
Can you say that sentence one more time?
Beck wrote all of the music for Sex Bob-omb.
It's just such an interesting sentence.
It's a pretty good one phonetically.
Beck wrote all of the music for Sex Bob-omb.
Sex Bob-omb.
Sex Bob-omb.
So, little movie-specific details here. When Scott opens the door to receive the package from Ramona, he's going to ask her out. They actually, in a movie with all this VFX and all this CGI, Edgar Wright really wanted him to throw that package and land it in the trash can. So that took 33 takes. Michael Cera just kept throwing it back, and on the 33rd take, it finally got him in there. And, again, they have this incredible VFX team. They obviously could have CGI'd that, but they wanted that true to form, so it ended up working. Also, at the party when he talks to Ramona for the first time, Scott holds up a really badly drawn picture of Ramona. Kind of looks like just a sketch. You couldn't be able to pick it out. And then that's when our guy, what was his name? Komu.
Komu.
Yeah, Komu. So
I was wondering if that's who you were talking. Yeah.
Komu. So he right away says, "Oh, that's Ramona Flowers." So it was originally supposed to be a picture of her in the comic, in the graphic novel, but he thought it would feel a little silly, so he thought it would be a lot funnier, a lot more comedic if he holds up this weird drawing, and then Komu is just Ramona Flowers.
That just weird, just drawing the outline of her hair, scribbles, nothing else. That was really funny.
So good.
I know I loved that part specifically. I was so invested after that popped up. I was like, all right, they know what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Comedy wise. The stunt doubles for Chris Evans, who played Lucas Lee, are the actual stunt doubles for him, in all of his stuff. Mm-hmm. Those are real Chris Evans stunt doubles. And only a quarter of them actually look like him.
Yeah.
So if you looked like him, if you looked at all of them, There's only a few that really look like or could pass
legitimately
as
assemble
Chris
it.
Evans.
Yeah. I like that. I let him do the wide angles.
Yeah. Sometimes when I want to go get baked in my trailer.
Yeah.
What did he say? Yeah, something like that.
something, yeah.
And then whenever the moon is shown, it's full and there's a hole in it.
Yeah.
And that's because Ramona's third boyfriend, Todd, is mentioned as having punched a hole in there for her when they dated. And in the graphic novel, Todd punches a second hole in the moon for envy. So that's a cool little, using
those vegan powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like how they do show the hole. It's awesome. I'm going to get to two more here, and then we'll go into second draft, second laugh. So
let's do it.
In the beginning, you get the gist right away, obviously through the movie, but even in the Universal logo at the beginning. So it's an 8-bit kind of thing. And it was designed by Oscar Wright's brother, who was the concept designer and storyboard artist on the film. And it was actually just a first draft that he showed, but they were doing it to test audiences, and everyone loved it so much they just didn't even do a second draft. Like, they were good to go.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then this one's quick. I mean, I think it's so interesting because I like the Smashing Pumpkins, but to people who don't really know who the Smashing Pumpkins are, this probably isn't too interesting. But so the writer of the graphic novels was influenced by the Smashing Pumpkins. So Scott wears a heart, or he wears a t-shirt with letters that say SP in a heart. Obviously those are Scott's initials, but it's actually the Smashing Pumpkins logo. And also the Zero t-shirt. So Scott wears a Zero t-shirt because obviously all the X's wear stuff on them that signifies what number X they are. Scott wears Zero, but also Billy Corgan, the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, wears that shirt as well. And then there is, they do these little cuts that it's kind of like Inglourious Bastards, where they flash a title up between things to mark where we're at in the movie. So one of those film acts is titled The Infinite Sadness, which is a reference to the Smashing Pumpkins album Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, which is, by the way, a very good album. So if you like the Smashing Pumpkins, wanted to throw that in there. If you don't care, sorry about that. But I thought it was awesome.
I care about the Smashing Pumpkins.
You should. The Smashing Pumpkins are great.
Yeah.
You should all care about the Smashing Pumpkins. We will move on to second draft, second laugh here. So I'm not going to lie. I didn't do too much for second draft because it's such a good movie. I didn't want to disrespect it by rewriting it, but we got our segments. We stick to our segments. We're consistent here at Sincerely Unqualified, or so we hope. So the first one is, instead of the vegan police showing up, it's the real police because Knives is 17, and that's just weird.
Okay.
So the movie just kind of ends there.
Yeah,
we have 3 X's, and then instead of Scott dying from an X, he gets arrested. He's in jail.
I feel like that's a good progression, honestly.
The second draft is a complete rewrite. So instead of this awesome movie we have, it's rewritten to the perspective of Kieran Culkin's character Wallace. And he's just trying to flip straight guys this whole time, and he just seems so engaged in that it's just him. It's almost like a romantic comedy that he sees all these people in relationships, and he's just trying to flip straight guys. But also the whole time, Scott fighting 7 evil X's is like a B plot. It's just kind of like in the background.
You just see in the background like Scott fighting people, and then he's
like
just flirting with guys upstairs.
You have these demons. He's throwing fireballs, and then it's just the conversation that Wallace was having with Julie's boyfriend the whole time.
That would be so good.
Yeah. That's my second draft, and then the second laugh. This. Sequel. That's the word, sequel. It's a spin-off where a young kid wants to be a journalist for Rolling Stone and follows the Sex Bombs around on tour and gets tangled up in a love affair with a girl called Penny Lane, played by Kate Hudson.
Okay.
Nothing.
I know.
It's almost famous. It's almost famous, but the Sex Bob-ombs are the fictional band.
Okay, that makes a lot
I was like, I
more
wonder
sense.
if he's gonna catch on to this. I wanted to write it like pretty nondescript, and then like throw Rolling Stone in, and then just like make it very obvious. But yeah, that's
Oh, now that I'm reading it, I see it.
Yeah. So then my other second laugh is it's 90 unabridged minutes of a therapy session where Scott and Nega Scott are working things out. Because I think that it was nice that they were just like, whatever, but I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think Scott has a lot going on up in the old noggin that he could talk through.
I agree. I think I'm going that one. 90 just the uninterrupted minutes of this therapy session.
We're just in on it. Yeah.
Look,
It's like a podcast.
Euphoria just released an hour episode of that for their new season. So why can't, that was a whole episode, an hour literally of a therapy session.
Then maybe I got to admit, I've never watched that, so I think I just ripped that off. Just like I ripped off Almost Famous.
And I think that they could do it. I think if it was Michael Cera on Michael Cera therapy for an hour and a half, people would watch it 1,000%.
Maybe Michael Cera is the therapist to Nega Michael Cera. That could also be good.
And they could be each other's therapists.
I thought of it as like a couple therapist.
Yeah,
like a couple
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And I think I'm going the rewritten from the perspective of Kieran Culkin.
Just thinking about like the anarchy that would be that B plot is pretty fun. It also,
it's so great.
Honestly, a rom-com of a gay guy trying to flip straight dudes is probably that would be a very funny
probably
movie.
Necessary to make sooner
Let's
than
do
later.
it.
Honestly, write it up.
I will. All right. So that's our second draft, second laugh. That was our Scott Pilgrim episode. We talked Mark Norman. We talked Elon's performance on SNL. Comedy.
Hey.
So you could have waited until we do our sign off.
Sorry. Couldn't help it.
If you could please like, rate, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and you feel so inclined, if you leave us a review, it would be awesome. We love hearing from you guys, so please DM us on Instagram, TikTok. You can email us at sincerelyunqualified@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. We want to just interact with you, so please do all that good stuff. It would mean the world to us. It takes a little bit of time out of your day.
Means a lot to us.
Yeah, not too sure what we're doing. I like doing these out there movies. There aren't too many that are like this, but maybe we'll start branching out more. Maybe we won't keep doing just bread and butter after bread and butter. So if there is a movie that you think that we could talk well on, please let us know. We're always open for suggestions. So not too sure what we're doing next week, but
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out as always. Until then, I am Kevin.
I'm Winnie.
And we'll see you at the next episode.
Aha, comedy.
I'm
Kevin Hart.
That's my first one I'm doing. I'm gay. I'm Kevin Hart.
I'm Kevin Hart.
Comedy. All right. Bye, everyone.